So it turns out this list is a little longer than I thought it was going to be. So we're going to break this video up into two different videos. There's going to be a link up here in the upper right hand corner or down below to the next video, or you can subscribe and go to my channel and see all of our videos. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the top 10 things that infuriate me in modern game design decisions. Welcome back, YouTube, to Enraged Nerd, where we're going to talk today about 10 things that just really get my goat or my goose or just cheese me off about why you would do that. Every now and then you're playing a game with your friends and your family and you're having a great time and you're like, wow, this game is so much fun. And then all of a sudden, why? Why is this in the... Why are you making me do this? And all of a sudden the game is just not as much fun. So, counting down from 10 to 1, 1 being the most egregious error made by a game designer, we'll start with number 10, Rising Sun. Now, Rising Sun breaks a general rule. This is not a very specific rule to Rising Sun, but a general rule is if you're going to make a game, give me enough pieces to play the game. You know, up until recently, every time I played Rising Sun, it's been 2 to 4 players. And there are enough pieces in the game for 2 to 4 players. But they put out an expansion for 5 to 6 players. But there aren't enough pieces in the base game to support that. Specifically, money. And the expansion did not provide any more money components to the game. So we're playing the game and all of a sudden we're out of money. And now we're having to use dice to keep track of how much money each person has, and now we've got to raid other games to get components to play this game, and that's inexcusable. If you're going to put an expansion for more players to your game, you know that you're going to need more pieces for those players. Throw in some more money. It's not hard, and it's infuriating. Now, luckily, on Amazon and other places, you can buy game money. So it's something that can be easily overcome if you know it's there. But again, I shouldn't have to. I've already paid you for an expansion. I shouldn't have to pay somebody else for more components. Number 9 on our countdown is also a very generic rule, but we're just going to give you a very specific example of a generic rule. So, when you're opening your game, you usually get a board and maybe some figures and some dice, but a lot of times you're going to get cardboard punch-outs of all the components you're going to need. Those need a place to live in your box. Gloomhaven is a very great example of this. So Gloomhaven is a huge box, as you can see here. I think it weighs like 25 pounds. Mine's going to weigh more because I've added components like these 3D printed terrain pieces. But not even counting those, to get all of my punch-out cardboard pieces, I had to go ahead and get the Broken Token Organizer to get all of these wonderful trays to hold all of the components. And as you can see, there are a ton of trays in here. Tons and tons. I mean, we're barely scratching the surface, and, you know, tray and tray, 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 tray. There's places for all these to live, which makes it easier to set up and easier to put away because everybody knows where the pieces belong. It's easy to see. They're clearly... It makes sense where things go. This is good for 2 reasons. One, you get to start playing faster, which means everyone can start having fun faster. You might even get to play another game. If your setup and takedown is quicker and easier, your game time is saved over the course of a night. You know, we generally have 4 hours or so to play a game. If I can save an hour's worth of setup by having setup and cleanup, maybe we can play another scenario, which is something that we do often when we play Gloomhaven. We usually can get 1 or 2 scenarios a night. Now, you just saw all those pieces, but Gloomhaven came with this. That's it. That's it. That box is full of components. Full. To the brim. This is an insult. There is no way that game fits in here. Maybe if there had been a second layer, a second one of these maybe, for all the components, and then it could sit on top, and then... But they didn't even do that. Number 8 on our list is Versus System. When Versus System came out, I was at Gen Con that year, and I saw it, and I love superheroes, as you can tell. I love superheroes. And they're going to give me a card game based on superheroes that looks like it doesn't suck, because there have been other ones, but they were just bad. And I came home from Gen Con that year with 6 boxes of Versus. But UDE, Upper Deck Entertainment, recently decided they were going to re-release Versus, and I got my hopes up. Man, I was ecstatic. I mean, yes, Versus is coming back. They know all the things they did wrong that caused the game to die, which entirely was on Upper Deck Entertainment's management of the game. The game had a strong player base and had a professional circuit and was huge, and they sold out. We're not going to get into that. That'll probably be another video. But their mismanagement of the game caused the game to die. So we were excited they were going to bring it back, knowing what they did wrong, hopefully going to fix it. They re-released it. I bought the box, took it home, ecstatic, can't wait to dive into it. Open it up, and I was at a loss for words. I'm still at a loss for words. I'm still at a loss for words years later. So, for those who didn't know, the Versus system used to work on a resource per round mechanic. On round 1, you had 1 resource. On round 2, you had 2 resources. Yada, yada, yada. There was no way you were going to get hosed on first turn and not have a resource. You were always going to have a resource. So what do? They introduced resources. They introduced mana, colored, specific mana, into the game. They, from the get-go, the very essence of the game was different. The other thing in Versus was it was player versus player. I was attacking you, and if I knocked you out, you were out of the game, I win. They said that's too hard, it's too complicated. So we're going to give you these avatars, and these avatars can level up, and you're going to attack the other player's avatar, and that's how you're going to win. Because it's too complicated and too esoteric to have characters attacking players. Alright, so you made a game decision, you changed how the game's going to work, but then you turn around, they gave Deadpool the mechanic of attacking other players. They said it's too complicated, so we're going to change how the game plays to avoid doing that, and then they put it in the game anyway. And it gets worse. Firefly Legendary had some atrocious artwork in it, and it kind of just detracts from the enjoyment of the game. I don't want to look at bad artwork of stuff that I love. I want to look at pictures of the stuff that I love. So don't cheap out on me. I will pay you more to compensate you for that cost that the games have to incur. Just stop doing this. Number 6, I'm going to pick on Cosmic Encounters from Fantasy Flight Games here. And I don't want to seem like I'm picking on Fantasy Flight for what I'm about to say, because I think this actually occurred when Hasbro bought Cosmic Encounters. And I believe Fantasy Flight bought it from Hasbro, but this game's been around, I believe, since the early 80s or late 70s in some form or another. It's been around for a really long time. It's a very good game. I've been playing it since the early 90s. So Cosmic Encounters used to have an economy inside of it. There was lucre, or money, that you could spend on buying cards, buying or using that money to fuel your powers,
etc. There was a whole ecosystem, and it gave you some more choices you could make on your turn on what to do. Instead of just playing your cards or attacking, you could make some investments, purchase some stuff. You could offer money for alliances. And I felt like removing the lucre from the game detracted from it immensely. The game is much less enjoyable now, just because there's so much less nuance to it. Now, I'm not saying a game has to have a gazillion moving parts to be good. Sometimes simple games like Azul are very good. But a game that has a component that touches cards, powers, alliances, something that touches many facets of the game, when it gets removed, it leaves a gap. There's a hole. And in the case of Cosmic Encounters, it left a hole in my heart.